So the whole idea of infusing trust back into commercial transactions, how did you come to focus on the idea of trust as integral to the success of an effective negotiation?
I've been focused on negotiation as a concept for about 30 years. I've been working in different positions myself, been using and utilizing negotiation skills for many years before I started to get in and be an advisor for professionals and governments around the world. And I thought until about 15 years ago that negotiation was the key thing. If you had that, you would be successful. But then suddenly I realized one day that without communication skills, you wouldn't be successful in negotiation. And then about 6 years ago, I added another level when I just suddenly realized that without communication skills and negotiation skills, you would not be a successful executive. But without trust skills, you wouldn't be successful in any of the other ones as well. So trust is the latest layer and a problem and an issue and a development area we certainly have today in the Western world.
You talk in the book about a three-legged stool. Can you explain that concept?
Absolutely. I have found that negotiation competence is one critical issue for all executives in the world today. Behavioral economics and understanding that we are behavioral individuals and not what we call orthodox economical individuals is a crucial understanding. And then the third leg to this stool is the trust issue.
All right. Isolating then the idea of negotiation competence. Is this just the toolbox of things that I've read about in other negotiation books?
No, we're taking it further. I've found that way too many negotiation books are basically just repeating simple tools on how to improve your business outcome, and that's all fine, but it's basically an echo of previous books. What we have found is that negotiation is a competence that should be at a very high level, at a strategy level in any company. So it's a leadership competence, and that means you need to define your strategy. And we're basically working with three different strategies. You can work in a zero-sum strategy, and most corporations in the world, by the way, are working in that strategy today. And zero-sum, very quickly, is all about that I become successful at your expense page, or you become successful at my expense. Then we got partnership, which is the next layer and more advanced than zero-sum, where two parties basically work together to try and create a better outcome without having one winning at the expense of the other. But the third layer we have created, SMARTnership, is where we really utilize the potential. And what we have discovered, just to briefly tell you a little bit of it, is that you can utilize up to 42% additional value in a negotiation where you work with partnership, but at the potential of what we call NegoEconomics, which is all about the creation of the 42%. If you add rules of the game, that means you have agreed how to negotiate, and you have actually established and created trust.
I see. Then the second leg of the stool is this idea of behavioral economics. I'm hearing that word a lot lately.
Yes. Well, if you go back 10 or 15 years, most people in the world were in the belief that we were basically orthodox economics individuals. That means that we were rational. We were basing our decisions on what was right or wrong. Modern research in the last 10 years has clearly identified and proven that we are not. Human beings are basically irrational. So we buy with emotions, and then we add the facts to prove that our emotional decisions was absolutely right. So behavioral economics is really just a very nice way of saying how we make decisions. And it's very important understanding and understanding the importance of behavioral economics in negotiation. So that's why we have used a lot of research and why we focus a lot on behavioral economics within negotiation as a leadership competence as well.
So all this research that's been done for hundreds of years that predicts behavior based on the rational man, I think is their language. Are you suggesting that that's out the window?
Well, you know, the capitalistic system that has been the foundation of how we work in the Western world for almost since 1700, founded by Adam Smith in Scotland, has proven to be wrong because it's all based on we are irrational. Now, one of the reasons that we can change that observation today is because, for instance, brain scanning has become so much more advanced today than it was 20 years ago. So today in research, we can clearly identify and see how the brains make decisions. We couldn't do that 20 years ago. So today researchers and scientists can easily identify that, hey, we are not rational, we are absolutely irrational.
So how do I know how my counterpart's going to behave when I sit down at the negotiation table?
Well, just as preparing on your negotiation checklist, you can prepare on your behavioral economics checklist as well. And we have to understand that a lot of the process of engaging into negotiation is emotions. It's about feeling fairly treated. It's about openness. It's about honesty, likability. It's all about trust. And all of that is basically rational. For instance, to give you a very brief example, very often I'm asking and teasing my clients if we can put a value on trust. And I meet people who are saying you can't. And I'm very often testing this and been doing that with hundreds and hundreds of my clients, where I just hold up very two identical water bottles. And I'm saying to them, we got two identical water bottles here, same quality, same content, same everything. But the bottle here, the A bottle, is coming from a supplier you've been working with for, let's say, the last 5 years. And you trust the person, you like the person, and you definitely enjoy working with that person. But suddenly, you're getting a competitive supplier coming in, offering exactly the same product. Your challenge right now is that the new supplier is 1% cheaper than the one you've been working with for the last 5 years. But your challenge in this case, Paige, is that the new supplier, you don't really like him, you don't really trust him, and you get that stomach sensation that something is wrong. You probably tried that, right?
Exactly.
Now, my question to all of these hundreds of people I've been working with in this scenario, the majority of everybody saying, no, with a 1% price difference, I would go with the one I like and trust. And then I increase the difference saying, well, how about 5%? Still, majority of everybody saying, I go with the one I like and trust. And then we go all the way up. And what we have discovered on a very simple product, we could agree that a bottle of water might be, right? We could go up with a price difference between 20 and 30% before people actually say, now I switch to the cheaper one I don't like. So imagine in the real world where we're working with way more complex solutions, what the price difference actually could be between one you like and trust and one you don't like and don't trust, even though they have the same product.
I see. So you're telling me then that the interpersonal dynamic is perhaps more influential to the outcome of this negotiation than things like data and the numbers and the financial predictions. Is that?
People are way too much caught up in the product and the price today. Of course, I'm not saying product and price is not important. I'm just saying it's secondary. I'm always laughing when I'm reading New York Times or Washington Post or Financial Times or whatever, where it says that company A's have teamed up with company B. You know, that never happened. It is Martin who've teamed up with a woman called Marianne, for instance. Those are the ones that are creating this business deal. So all business is human, Paige. You know, it's not something that goes on between organizations. And since human beings are irrational, well, likability, trust, and all of that has a major impact in the success for both you and me.
So then trust, as you're suggesting, is the third leg of your three-legged stool.
Absolutely. And it's a fundamental one. You could have the best possible deal, the right product, the right price, and the right timing, but if trust is not there, just getting back to my water bottles, it will not happen. Or at least it will not happen in SMARTnership, where you could utilize that potential 42%.
So you're suggesting then that trust is at the foundation or is pivotal to the entire success or failure of the commercial transaction.
If we go back a couple of thousands of years, the Romans were, there was a fascinating culture. And the Romans could build arches way before we actually know about engineering and about how to develop stuff like that. And there's something in an arch called the keystone. Now, the fascinating thing about the keystone is that's the one that is holding the whole arch. And I'm describing that in the book because if you remove the keystone, your arch will collapse. Consider trust in any kind of relationship the keystone. If you remove that trust and that keystone, your whole foundation will collapse and you will not utilize the best possible outcome.
Keld, so if I understand what you've just said then, that trust is the keystone that defines or breaks the success of the relationship, coming with that then must be honesty, full disclosure, fair play, those kinds of ideas.
Sure. We did a study a couple of years ago where we were out looking at 5,000 negotiators. And 49% of those 5,000 negotiators were actually admitting that they would be happy to bluff a lie to achieve whatever negotiation outcome they were looking for. And this is scary since we actually know that creating trust will utilize the potential NegoEconomics and thereby create the potential 42% value. And we will not create that if we don't create trust and openness. Now, of course, I'm not advising to become naive. That's the opposite of creating trust. But finding that middle road is really the crucial and the very important task for any negotiator.
At both the beginning and the end of the book, you challenge the reader to be the first to take the step at infusing trust back into the commercial relationship. Your language is, it all starts with you.
Yes. The reason I'm doing that is I'm very often meeting clients who are saying, I get your point, I understand your philosophy, and we like your idea. The problem is I've been trying it and all the others won't change. Now, very often if I got a mirror, I'm holding up that mirror and saying, if you find everybody to be combative and closed and not creating trust, you basically have to start with yourself. Because I think we can all agree, Paige, it's really hard changing everybody else, isn't it? There's only one person that you have a slight chance of changing, and that's yourself. So again, I'm not actually offering the advice to become naive, but I'm offering the advice of if you should change something and some behavior, it has to be your own before you can expect somebody else is doing it. So we got a checklist where we actually offer our clients the potentials of going through a checklist on how to conduct negotiation. Now, one way of doing it is actually opening up negotiation by saying, I'm here today to help you reduce your costs, reduce your liabilities, and improve your profit. Would you like me to help you doing that? Now, in most cases, I can assure you, the counterpart will look a little bit nervous and surprised, but will say, yes, of course. And then you have to add another thing by saying, and the other reason I'm here is because I need you to help me reduce my costs, reduce my liabilities, and improve my profit. So could we agree that we are here today to reduce each other's risk and liabilities and improve each other's profit? So we're here to work together. I'm not here to win at your expense, and you're not here to win at my expense. So basically, as part of the negotiation competence, you need to agree the rules of the game as well. So you basically have a negotiation prior to the negotiation where you negotiate how to negotiate.